sun over the land of Oo was unusually pale today. It did not have its usual cheerful face. Instead, it looked like a washed-out lemon, hanging limply in a sky that had turned the color of bruised lavender. The wind did not whistle through the blades of the grasslands. It hissed, carrying with it a scent that should not exist in a world made of sugar and magic. The cloying, heavy smell of wet fur and burnt copper. In the heart of the Candy Kingdom, the daily rhythm was beginning to falter. Starchy, the royal gravedigger and full-time conspiracy theorist, was currently standing over a sewer grate near the back of the palace. He was not sweeping. He was not digging. He was staring. A single red balloon was tied to the iron bars of the grate. It was not moving, even though a stiff breeze was blowing. It sat there, perfectly still, its shiny surface reflecting a distorted version of Starchy's face, making his mustache look like a cluster of writhing black worms. "I see you," Starchy whispered, his voice cracking. "I know what this is. This is a tracking device from the underground gnome men. You're scanning my thoughts. You want to know where I hide the good dirt." From the darkness of the grate, a soft, wet sound emerged. It sounded like someone stepping into a puddle of thick jam. "I do not want your dirt, Starchy," a voice drifted up. It was a voice that felt like it was being played on an old, scratched vinyl record. It was friendly, but in a way that made the hair on the back of Starchy's neck stand up. "I want to give you a gift, a secret, the biggest secret in Oo." Starchy leaned closer, his paranoia warring with his insatiable curiosity. "What kind of secret? Is it about the princess? Is she a lizard?" "I knew it." "No," the voice giggled. "Better, I know where the real candy people go when they disappear. The ones the princess replaces with clones. Do not you want to see them? They're all down here. They're all having a carnival. And everything floats, Starchy, even the truth." A pale, gloved hand reached out from the shadows of the grate, offering a small, glowing piece of candy. It looked like a gumdrop, but it pulsed with a rhythmic, orange light. Starchy reached down, his fingers trembling. As his skin touched the cold, white glove, the balloon popped with the sound of a screaming child. Across the kingdom, in the sprawling branches of the treehouse, Finn the human was having a crisis of his own. He was staring at his reflection in a polished shield, and for the first time in years, he did not like what he saw. "Jake," Finn said, his voice flat, "does my face look tired to you?" Jake the dog was currently shaped like a giant, fluffy pancake, lounging across the floorboards while Bone used his back as a racetrack for tiny toy cars. Jake opened one eye. "Nah, man, you look like Finn. You look like a guy who hits things until they drop loot." "Why?" Finn sighed, dropping the shield. "I do not know. I woke up this morning and the air felt heavy, like I was breathing in gray paint. And I had this dream. There was this guy in a suit with a big white head, just standing at the edge of the woods. He was not doing anything. He was just watching." BMO stopped his car and looked up, his screen flashing a yellow warning sign. "Finn, my sensors indicate a 40% increase in bummer waves coming from the atmosphere. My internal clock is also running backwards. I think the world is having a glitch." Suddenly, the window shutters slammed open. A messenger bird, a small, frantic pigeon wearing a tiny royal hat, flew in and crashed directly into Finn's chest. It was clutching a scroll sealed with the princess's private crest. "Emergency!" Finn shouted, his hero instincts finally kicking in. He ripped the scroll open. "Finn and Jake, come to the lab immediately. Something is wrong with the kingdom's psychic frequency. Starchy is gone. Peppermint Butler is locked in the pantry and will not stop chanting in Latin. And the sky is bleeding. PB." Finn grabbed his backpack and his sword. "Jake, suit up. Something's messing with the kingdom, and it's not the Ice King. This feels different. It feels old. Jake stretched his legs, growing 10 feet tall in an instant. I'm with you, brother. But if this turns out to be another mystery that ends with us cleaning out the palace gutters, I'm charging you extra in Meat Man sandwiches. As they raced toward the Candy Kingdom, the landscape began to distort. The usual bright greens of the grass were fading into a sickly, jaundiced yellow. The flowers were not blooming, they were drooping, their petals turning into gray ash that dissolved in the wind. When they reached the main gate, the silence was deafening. Usually the Candy Kingdom was a riot of noise, chattering candy kids, the hum of the gumball guardians, the singing of the flower bells. Now there was only the faint, distant sound of a calliope, playing a tune that was just a few notes off key. Princess Bubblegum was standing in the center of the square, surrounded by a high-tech array of satellite dishes and magical wards. She looked exhausted. "Princess!" Finn yelled, jumping off Jake's back. "What's the biz? Where is everyone?" "They're in their houses, Finn, or at least, I hope they are," PB said, staring at a holographic map of the kingdom. About 3 hours ago, a localized rift opened in the lower drainage system. It was not a portal to the Nightosphere or the land of the dead. It was a puncture in the fabric of the empathic void. Something crawled through, and it's using the kingdom's own joy as a beacon to hunt. "Hunt what?" Jake asked, his tail tucking between his legs. "Fear," PB replied. "It's a trans-dimensional entity that my records call the Deadlights. It's a predator that feeds on the chemical reaction of terror in sentient brains. It takes the form of whatever you fear most, but it prefers a specific avatar, a clown. It finds the concept of forced joy to be the perfect mask for its hunger." As if on cue, the fountain in the square erupted. But instead of water, thousands of red balloons burst out, filling the air until the sun was completely blocked. The sky went dark. From the top of a gumdrop house, a figure emerged. It was tall, with elongated limbs that moved with a sickening, twitchy grace. His face was painted white, with 2 red lines stretching from the corners of his mouth up through his eyes like bloody scars. He wore a silver Victorian suit with frayed ruffles, and he was holding a bunch of balloons that seemed to be pulsing like hearts. "Greetings, little hero!" the clown shrieked. His voice was a chaotic mix of a child's giggle and the roar of a lion. "I've heard so much about you, the boy who does not fear anything, the boy with the golden soul." "Get down from there, you creep!" Finn shouted, drawing his sword. "I do not know what dimension you're from, but in Ooh, we do not bully people with balloons." The clown, Pennywise, tilted his head so far to the side that his neck made a loud, wet, snapping sound. "Bully? Oh no, I'm a provider. I provide the end. I provide the darkness that you've been running from since you were a baby in the woods." Pennywise leaped from the roof. He did not fall. He floated, drifting down like a leaf. When he landed, the ground beneath his feet turned into black, bubbling tar. "Jake, now!" Finn commanded. Jake turned his arms into massive hammers and swung at the clown. But the moment the hammers were supposed to connect, Pennywise exploded into a cloud of thousands of black locusts. They swarmed over Jake, biting and buzzing. "Get him off! Get him off!" Jake screamed, shrinking down and rolling on the ground. Finn slashed through the swarm, but the locusts reformed into a giant, spectral version of the ocean. A massive wave of dark, cold water loomed over Finn, towering hundreds of feet high. Finn froze. His breath hitched. The ocean, the one thing that could always make his heart stop. The vast, unfeeling blue. "Finn, it's an illusion!" PB shouted from behind her wards. "He's reading your amygdala. Do not let the signal settle." But Finn could not move. The smell of salt and death was too real. The wave crashed down, and for a moment, the world went black. When Finn opened his eyes, he was not in the Candy Kingdom anymore. He was in a place that looked like a distorted version of the treehouse, but the wood was rotting and the leaves were black. Beside him, Jake was whimpering. He had turned into a small, shivering puppy. "Jake? Jake, buddy, look at me," Finn said, his voice trembling. "Finn, I cannot feel my magic," Jake whispered. "The clown. He said my stretching is just a way to hide how small I am. He said one day I'll stretch so thin I'll just break, like a rubber band." "That's a lie, man. You're the toughest dog I know." Finn looked around. They were in a long, dark hallway that should not exist. At the end of the hall was a wooden door with the words, "The Well House," carved into it. The sound of circus music began to play again, but this time it was accompanied by the sound of a heartbeat, a deep, thudding rhythm that shook the floorboards. "Do you want to see what's behind the door, Finn?" Pennywise's voice whispered from the walls. "Do you want to see the real reason you were left in the woods? It was not a mistake. They wanted to get away from you. Everyone wants to get away from you eventually, even the dog." "Shut up," Finn screamed, his hand gripping the hilt of his sword until his knuckles turned white. "You do not know anything about me." "I know everything," the clown said, stepping out from a shadow. He was much larger now, his suit stained with what looked like strawberry juice, but smelled like iron. "I've been watching you from the deadlights for a long, long time. I watched you lose your arm. I watched you lose your father. I am the hole in your heart, Finn, and I'm hungry." Pennywise opened his mouth, his jaw unhinged, dropping down to his chest, revealing rows upon rows of needle-sharp teeth that spiraled back into an endless throat of orange fire. "Jake, we have to fight," Finn yelled, grabbing the puppy-sized Jake and putting him in his backpack. "If this is a dream, we have to wake up. If it's a nightmare, we have to slay it." Finn charged. He swung his sword at the clown's head, but Pennywise vanished again, leaving only a single red balloon floating in his place. The balloon popped, and the hallway dissolved into a sea of red liquid. Finn was swimming in it, struggling to keep his head above the surface. It was not water, it was liquid fear. "You'll float, Finn!" The voices of 1,000 lost souls echoed in the air. Starchy, the candy people, even voices that sounded like his old friends. "We all float down here, and you'll float too." Finn felt a hand grab his ankle. Something was pulling him down into the red depths. He looked down and saw the pale, laughing face of the clown beneath the surface, his orange eyes glowing with a predatory heat. "This is just the beginning, little hero," Pennywise hissed, his face inches from Finn's. "I'm going to take everything you love and turn it into a joke. And then, I'm going to eat the punchline." Finn kicked out, but the liquid was getting thicker, turning into a heavy, suffocating syrup. He was losing strength. He was losing hope. And then, he heard a sound. A tiny, muffled sound from his backpack. It was Jake. He was humming. It was a stupid, simple song they had made up years ago about eating pancakes on a rainy day. It was a song about nothing. It was a song about being together. The red liquid shivered. The orange eyes of the clown flickered. "Jake," Finn gasped, reaching into his pack. "Pancakes, making pancakes," Jake sang, his voice getting louder, braver. "Take some bacon and I'll put it in a pancake." The darkness began to crack. A sliver of bright, mathematical light broke through the ceiling of the nightmare. "The song," Finn realized. "He cannot handle the normal. He cannot feed on us if we are not playing his game." Finn joined in, his voice cracking but strong. "Making bacon pancakes. That's what it's gonna make. Bacon pancakes." The clown screamed, a sound of pure, unadulterated agony. The Red Sea began to drain away like water down a bathtub. "No!" Pennywise howled. "This is not how it works. You must fear me. I am the Eater of Worlds." "You're a loser who lives in a sewer," Finn shouted. With a final, blinding flash of light, the hallway exploded. Finn and Jake slammed onto the hard candy pavement of the Kingdom Square. The sun was still dark, and the balloons were still there, but the oppressive weight on their chests had lifted. Princess Bubblegum ran toward them, her scanners beeping frantically. "You did it! You broke the first layer of his psychic anchor." "But he's not gone, Finn. He's retreated to the physical node. He's hiding in the ancient bunkers beneath the palace." Finn stood up, dusting off his blue shirt. He looked at Jake, who was back to his normal size, wagging his tail. "He's in the basement?" Finn asked, a fierce grin spreading across his face. "Good. I'm tired of fighting him in my head. Let's go down there and show that clown how we handle uninvited guests in OO." "Wait," PB said, handing Finn a strange, glowing gauntlet. "This is a resonance disruptor. If you can get close enough to his true heart, the deadlights, hit him with this. It will destabilize his form and force him back into the void." "Got it," Finn said. "Jake, you ready for round 2? "Ready, brother," Jake said, turning his hand into a giant fist. "I've got a whole playlist of annoying songs ready to go. He will not know what hit him." They turned toward the dark entrance of the palace sublevels. The air was cold, and the circus music was getting louder again. But this time, Finn did not feel the ocean. He felt the fire of a hero. The iron door to the palace sublevels did not just creak, it groaned like a dying beast. As Finn and Jake stepped onto the cold stone stairs, the cheerful pastel colors of the Candy Kingdom felt like a distant memory. Down here, the walls were slick with a substance that looked like black licorice, but smelled like stagnant pond water and old, forgotten circus grease. "Jake," Finn whispered, his voice echoing into the abyss. "Keep your ears sharp. PB said the resonance disruptor only works if we get to the center of his nest. That means we have to go past the memory threshold." Jake was currently walking on 6 legs, his body low to the ground, sniffing the air. "I do not like the smell, Finn. It smells like the time I lost my favorite blanket, mixed with the smell of a basement that's been closed since the Great Mushroom War. It's old person sad down here." As they descended, the stairs began to change. The stone turned into soft, spongy tongues. The walls started to pulse with a slow, rhythmic heartbeat. Every few feet, a red balloon was tied to a pipe, hovering perfectly still in the dead air. "Do not touch him, Finn," Jake warned. "I think those are his eyes. If we pop one, he'll know exactly which flavor of fear we're bringing for dessert." Suddenly, the stairs ended, opening into a vast, impossible cavern. It should not have been there. The Candy Kingdom sat on a crust of sugar and dirt, but this space was miles wide, filled with a forest of rusted pipes and giant, decaying carnival rides. A Ferris wheel made of bone-white metal turned slowly in the distance, creaking a melody that sounded like a distorted lullaby. "Welcome to the Barrens, little hero." Pennywise's voice boomed, sounding both miles away and right inside their skulls. "Do you like what I've done with the place? It's built from the scraps of every nightmare OO has ever had. It's a museum of things that go crunch in the night." "Show yourself," Finn yelled, holding the resonance disruptor gauntlet high. The blue light from the device flickered, struggling against the heavy darkness. "Oh, I'm everywhere," the clown giggled. "I'm the shadow behind the pipe. I'm the itch on your back. I'm the thought that tells you your friends do not actually like you. They just pity you." The ground suddenly shifted. Finn and Jake were separated as the floor split into 2 sliding platforms. "Jake!" Finn lunged for his friend, but a wall of thick, black sludge rose between them. "Finn, I cannot see you, man. The sludge is singing to me. It sounds like my mom." Jake's voice faded as his platform slid into a dark tunnel. Finn was left alone in a circular room that looked exactly like the interior of his old circular room in the treehouse, but everything was wrong. The furniture was made of jagged teeth. His bed was a pile of dry bones, and sitting in the corner, holding a tattered book, was a figure Finn recognized instantly. "Dad?" Finn's voice was small. The figure turned. It was Martin Mertens, but his eyes were replaced by glowing orange deadlights. He looked at Finn with a cold, disgusted sneer. "Hey, kid," the Martin Spectre said, tossing the book into a fire that burned with green flames. "Still playing hero? Still trying to save people who do not care about you? You always were a slow learner." "You're not my dad," Finn said, his hand trembling on his sword. "You're just a projection, a fear clone." "Am I?" The figure stood up, growing taller, his limbs stretching out like Pennywise's. "I'm the truth you keep in the basement of your heart, Finn. You're terrified that you're just like me, a runaway, a loser, a guy who breaks everything he touches. Look at your arm, Finn. It keeps growing back, but it's always wrong, just like you." The Martin monster lunged, his fingers turning into long, sharp needles. Finn rolled to the side, but the room began to shrink, the walls closing in like the jaws of a giant beast. "You cannot fight a feeling, Finn," the monster shrieked. "I am the disappointment that follows you. I am the abandonment that defines you." Finn closed his eyes. He felt the panic rising, that cold, sinking feeling in his chest that he was not enough. But then he felt the weight of the gauntlet on his hand. He remembered what PB said, logic in the madness. "You're right," Finn said, his voice becoming steady. "My dad was a jerk. He left me. He let me down. And for a long time, I was scared that meant I was broken." Finn looked the monster right in its orange eyes. "But I'm not you. I'm a Mertens, maybe, but I'm a Finn first. I've got a family I chose, and they chose me back. You're not my fear anymore. You're just a memory I've already beaten." Finn punched the air with the gauntlet. A shockwave of pure, blue logic rippled outward. The Martin Spectre shrieked as it dissolved into a pile of harmless, gray dust. The walls of the room shattered like glass, revealing the cavern once again. Meanwhile, Jake was in his own personal version of the Nightosphere. He was surrounded by 1,000 versions of himself, but they were all decaying, their yellow fur falling out in clumps. "Look at us, Jake," the decaying Jake said in unison. "We stretched too far. We gave too much. Now there's nothing left but the rind." Jake was huddled in a ball, his eyes shut tight. "Not listening, not listening. I'm a magical dog. I'm a cool guy. I have a viola." A giant clown-faced spider crawled down from the ceiling, its legs clicking like knitting needles. It had Pennywise's face, but its body was a bloated, hairy sack of shadows. "You're afraid of the end, are not you, little doggy?" the spider clown hissed, dripping venom onto Jake's tail. "You're afraid of the day the music stops. You're afraid that when you die, you'll just be a dog in the dirt, and the world will keep turning without you." Jake looked up, his lip quivering. "Well, yeah, that is pretty scary, man. Death is like a really long nap without the snacks." "I can give you eternity, Jake," Pennywise whispered, leaning closer. "I can make you float forever in the deadlights. No more aging, no more worrying about Finn, no more hunger, just the glow." The spider clown opened its mouth, and Jake saw the 3 orange orbs. They were beautiful. They looked like 3 little suns. He felt his mind starting to drift, his will melting away like butter on a hot muffin. "Just let go, Jake." "No!" a voice shouted from across the cavern. A flaming sword flew through the air, slicing through one of the spider's legs. Pennywise howled in rage, recoiling into the shadows. Finn came running across the pipes, his face set in a look of pure, heroic determination. "Jake, do not look at the lights. They're a trap. They're like a really bad TV show that you cannot stop watching." Jake blinked, shaking his head. "Whoa, he almost got me, Finn. He was offering me eternity snacks." That's a low blow. Finn helped Jake up. They stood back to back as the shadows began to converge. The cavern was changing again. The rusted pipes were twisting together, forming a massive, pulsing heart in the center of the room. And there, standing in front of the heart, was Pennywise in his truest form, a massive, bipedal creature that was half clown, half insect, and all nightmare. "You think you've won because you conquered a few memories?" Pennywise's voice was now a tectonic rumble. "I am the Macroverse. I am the deadlights that existed before your world was a dream in a god's eye. I will eat your stars. I will choke your sun." The clown raised its hands, and the thousands of red balloons in the cavern began to descend. As they touched the ground, they did not pop, they hatched. Out of each balloon crawled a miniature version of a candy person, but their faces were twisted into masks of pure agony. "The floaties," Finn whispered, horrified. "Those are the people he took." "They're mine now," Pennywise laughed. "And they're so hungry." The swarm of distorted candy creatures began to crawl toward Finn and Jake. They were crying, their voices a high-pitched, discordant whine. "Finn, I do not want to hit them," Jake cried, stretching his arms into a defensive wall. "They're our friends. Look, that one is Mr. Cupcake, and that's Chet." "We do not have to hit them, Jake." Finn looked at the resonance disruptor. It was glowing brighter now, reacting to the proximity of the entity's heart. "We have to hit him. He's the anchor. If we break his concentration, the floaties will be released." "How do we get past that many tiny, biting cupcakes?" Jake asked, his legs shaking. Finn looked at the giant heart, then at the clown beast. "We go high. Jake, turn into a giant spring. I'm gonna vault of mystery this guy." "You got it, brother." Jake compressed his entire body into a tight, golden coil. Finn stood on top, his sword in one hand and the gauntlet in the other. 3, 2, 1, mathematical. Jake uncoiled with the force of a supernova. Finn was launched into the air, soaring over the sea of biting candy creatures. He flew straight toward the clown's massive painted chest. Pennywise's eyes widened. He swiped at Finn with a clawed hand, but Finn used his sword to parry the blow, the sparks lighting up the darkness. "I'm not afraid of you, you big gray balloon," Finn screamed. He slammed the gauntlet directly into the center of the clown's chest. A massive pulse of blue energy erupted. The cavern shook. The giant heart began to leak orange light. Pennywise's form started to blur, flickering between a clown, a spider, a werewolf, and a giant weeping eye. "No! The flavor! It's changing!" Pennywise shrieked. "It's not fear. It's bravery? It tastes like ash. Eat this, you creep." Finn twisted the gauntlet, increasing the output. The blue energy turned into a vortex, pulling at the clown's physical form. The floaties on the ground began to stop their crying, their twisted faces returning to normal as the silver threads connecting them to Pennywise snapped. "Jake, the heart! Hit the heart!" Finn yelled. Jake stretched his fist until it was the size of a boulder, coated it in a layer of magic dog spit for extra impact, and slammed it into the pulsing heart behind the clown. The heart exploded in a shower of orange sparks and confetti. Pennywise let out a scream that tore through the dimensions. His body began to collapse in on itself, shrinking smaller and smaller, his silver suit turning into tattered rags. "This is not the end," Pennywise whispered, his voice now just a tiny squeak. "I'll see you in your sleep." With a final pop, the clown vanished. The orange light died out, replaced by the soft, natural glow of the cavern's luminescent moss. The thousands of candy people who had been trapped began to float gently to the ground, waking up as if from a long, bad dream. Finn and Jake slumped against a rusted pipe, breathing hard. The silence was finally peaceful. No more circus music, no more heartbeat. "Did we do it?" Jake asked, rubbing his head. "Is the nightmare over?" Finn looked at the spot where the clown had been. There was nothing left but a single, shriveled red balloon, leaking air with a long, slow hiss. "Yeah," Finn said, a tired smile crossing his face. "We did it, but I think I'm done with carnivals for a while." "Me too, man," Jake said, his stomach letting out a loud growl. "Let's go home. I need to eat something that has not been cursed by a trans-dimensional entity. Like a bagel. A really, really big bagel." The vacuum left by Pennywise's defeat began to fill with the sounds of returning life. Hundreds of candy people, who had hung in the air like hollow husks just moments before, began to blink and twitch. Starchy was the first to spring to his feet. He immediately adjusted his grimy suspenders and began accusing a nearby rusty pipe of being a deep state spy. "Finn! Jake!" Princess Bubblegum dropped down from a makeshift lift platform she had engineered while the heroes fought below. "My scanners show the deadlights have been extinguished. You literally burned him out of our reality." "It was not that hard, PB," Finn exhaled, sliding his sword into its sheath. His hands were still trembling slightly from the adrenaline. "Turns out, ancient trans-dimensional evil has a really low tolerance for jokes about bad haircuts and stale pancakes." Jake, who was still the size of a small hippopotamus to make a comfortable seat for the recovering candy citizens, let out a satisfied rumble. "Yeah, PB, we gave him a mathematical beatdown. But listen, down there, right before he popped, he said this was not the end. Is that just a standard villain catchphrase? Or should we be looking over our shoulders in 27 years? Bubblegum frowned, examining the residue of ectoplasm on Finn's gauntlet. Technically, an entity like Pennywise is a creature of the void, the space between worlds. You cannot kill it permanently as long as fear exists in the multiverse. But in the land of Ooh, he cannot gain a foothold here anymore. You change the flavor of this place. Now, to him, Ooh tastes like a ghost pepper. He'll be too afraid to ever come back. They began the long climb back to the surface. A massive procession of chocolate people, peppermint butlers, and gummy bears stretched through the tunnels. Finn walked at the front, lighting the way with his sword. He felt a strange sense of calm. Having faced his deepest fears, the ocean, the loss of Jake, the ghost of his father, he realized those things no longer held power over him. They were part of his story, but they were not the ending. As they finally emerged into the main square of the Candy Kingdom, the sky was beginning to lighten. The bruised lavender of the nightmare was replaced by a soft, peach-colored dawn. The red balloons that had terrified the citizens were now simply popping, turning into puffs of pink cotton candy that drifted harmlessly onto the rooftops. "Survival party," Jake announced, turning his ears into massive speakers. "Free hugs for everyone and double servings of royal pudding." The kingdom roared to life. The candy people, terrified only an hour ago, instantly switched to party mode. It was their nature. But while the music began to thump in the square, Finn noticed something chilling. On the edge of the horizon, where the wasted lands began, the sky remained unnaturally black. The darkness there was not fading, it was thickening, taking the shape of a massive, horned silhouette. "Jake," Finn whispered, pointing toward the distance. Look. Jake stopped dancing and narrowed his eyes. Oh no, not that guy. Today was going so well. Out of the shadows stepped the Lich. The ancient embodiment of all death stood motionless, his empty sockets glowing with a dim, sickly green fire. But he did not attack. In his skeletal hand, he held the shriveled, deflated remains of the red balloon Pennywise had left behind. The Lich held the balloon up to his face, inspecting it like a rare, pathetic insect. His voice echoed in their minds, cold, emotionless, like the rustle of dead leaves on a grave. Foolish creature, it fed on fear to sustain a life. It clung to emotion, to biological noise. It wanted to eat when it should have simply ceased. The Lich squeezed his hand, and the balloon erupted in green flame, turning into nothingness. Fear is life, and life is an illusion. True peace only comes in the silence. The clown was merely noise. Now, the noise has stopped. The Lich turned his dead gaze toward Finn. For a second, it felt as if time itself had frozen. Sleep, little hero. Enjoy your laughter. While you laugh, you exist. But remember, when the last laugh fades, I will still be waiting at the end of the road. The Lich slowly dissipated into the air, leaving behind only the faint scent of ozone and ash. Phew! Jake shuddered and returned to his normal size. Okay, that was maximum uncomfortable. Did he just pay us a compliment or promise to end us later? Both, Finn said, looking at the rising sun. But you know what, Jake? The Lich is always there, somewhere in the future. But Pennywise was here, in our fear, and we beat him. That means we can handle whatever else comes down the line. Princess Bubblegum walked over and placed her hands on their shoulders. You did something incredible today. You did not just save the kingdom. You proved that absurdity is stronger than a nightmare. I'm going to seal these tunnels with lead and holy caramel, just in case. But I think the land of Ooh grew a little bit tougher today. The evening ended back at the treehouse. BMO made hot cocoa for everyone, and Jake finally assembled the legendary sandwich he had been dreaming of. They sat on the roof, legs dangling over the edge, watching the stars. Hey Finn, Jake said, chewing on a piece of bacon. If Pennywise had turned into a giant killer squirrel, would we still have won? Definitely, Finn smiled. I would have just called Tree Trunks, and she would have bored him to death with stories about her apple pies. They both laughed. The sound echoed over the forest, clear and free, and somewhere far away, in the void between worlds, the remnants of an ancient evil shuddered. In a world where the heroes know how to laugh at themselves and their own mortality, there was simply no room left for true horror. Finn lay back on the grass and closed his eyes. That night, he did not dream of clowns or oceans. He dreamed of running through an endless field of golden grass, with his best friend by his side, and an infinite number of adventures waiting ahead. Because adventure time never ends, as long as there's a drop of madness in an ocean of heart.